And a good Tuesday afternoon to you. This is Lunch with Claibs Joe, powered by Gray Bar, driven by Munganess St. Louis Acura. I'm Joe Roderick, joined alongside by Mike Claiborne. Claibs, a fun night for you at the ballpark last night as Nolan Gorman wins it with a walk-off home run, fireworks sending the fans home. And hopefully, I know we said this many, many times last year, hopefully this is something that kickstarts the team in 2024.
Well, we've been saying that for a while. Unfortunately, I wasn't part of last night, but I'm looking forward to tonight. But we've gone through this before. We saw it last year where we were hoping that this spark would turn this team around, and I think this year maybe we'll be better prepared for it because one of the problems the Cardinals had last year was closing out a series. I mean, we have not won the last game of a series yet so far this year. We haven't been able to establish a legitimate winning streak. So hopefully this will be the start of a sweep in a series against a good team in the Diamondbacks. But yeah, it was good last night, and especially the way they battled to stay in the game. Lance Lynn had the one hiccup inning, and then he held on. Bullpen was solid after that, and the Cardinals were able to scratch their way back and get the win.
They made some moves over the weekend, before the final game of the sweep that they suffered against the Brewers. They sent Victor Scott down. He's been a huge topic of conversation, Claibs, for you and I, going all the way back to February during spring training. Makes the opening day roster and just could not get the bat going. Sent back down to Memphis. Do you think we see Victor Scott again on the big league club this year?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I don't think there's any doubt. Win, I think it's still in the air, but I think Victor Scott's going to be a guy that's going. I don't think you can win without him. Plain and simple. He's got a hit, obviously, but the element he brings to this ball club is something that's desperately needed. I mean, he's still the best center fielder you have. Secondly, as we mentioned, if he can get on base, then that creates a weapon that we're seeing a lot of teams start to utilize. And one of the reasons why you're seeing teams running a lot more, I think this one knee catching is bad if you're trying to be good defensively, because very few guys can throw from one knee. Wilson Contreras can, Ivan Herrera can't. And you look around the game, there's a lot of stolen bases, and pitchers have a lot to do with it also by not keeping runners closer. But if you have that weapon, like Victor Scott has the potential to possess, then I think you're going to see him on this team again.
Yeah, they a lot that you just said. I mean, because you Victor Scott, he goes down. We've seen Jordan Walker now 2 games in a row. He doesn't get the start. Not sure if he's going to be in the lineup again today, or if maybe he's lost his spot for the time being. Do you see a scenario where Jordan Walker possibly gets sent back down to Memphis again this year?
Good question. Yeah, I do. I mean, I think that he's got to get some legitimate at bats and get this swing figured out and get his alignment together. I mean, he's got a very awkward swing. I think it's too big. His lower half is not caught up to his top half, and he's got to go somewhere and work on it. I just don't think you can get away with that at the big league level. It's hard. I mean, these guys throw strikes and they throw stuff after the first strike that's really hard to hit, and he's got to go somewhere and get his swing down. I mean, his ground ball rate is, I believe, at 56%. The average is 32. So that gives you an idea of how far off he is. Or is it 42? It's a large difference. And he's got to be better.
And he made the opening day roster last year, gets sent down, gets called up, never went back down. I'm trying to think back, and you might have a better idea or memory of this than I would, of a guy who then made the team the following year, got sent back. You wonder what, he's still very young. You wonder what that does mentally to a guy going up and down like that when it's no secret. He knows that how highly touted of a prospect he is. He knows what sky's the limit for his talents and his potential, but to fail as many times as he, I guess, is right now at the plate and getting sent back down, that takes a lot out of a guy who went the first 18, 19 years of his life not failing that much.
Yeah, I think that's a challenge. I don't think there's any question about it. what message do you send? Do you send the message that we care? Yes, they do. But also, you're going to have Carlson and Edmond coming back at some point. You're going to have a crowded outfield. And I think the worst thing that can happen to him is playing on selective days. You got to throw him out there and let him play. But if he's not ready to play, he's got to go somewhere and figure out how to play. So it's going to be something they're going to have to keep a close eye on because they're going to have more outfielders than they know what to do with here in about a month.
What have you heard about Carlson and Edmond?
They're starting to take swings, swinging off the tee. It's a long process because they're going to do that for at least another week, and then there's going to be another 2 weeks of going on the minors and actually getting in games. So I don't see either one of those guys really being available to this team before the middle of May.
Positives though for the Cardinals over the past couple weeks. I mean, Mason Wynn continues to swing really well. Your friend Bob Ramsey, who I do daily cards with every day, he wants to see Wynn 1 or 2 in the lineup. And at this point, you're talking to Ollie every day about lineup construction. Has that been something that's come up about moving Wynn around a little more?
No, not yet. I think there's a couple of things. If you put him in the, could he be a leadoff guy? Perhaps. I think the strikeouts still kind of concern you, but the fact is he's putting the ball in play a lot more. And Donovan can hit anywhere. Wynn gives you a little bit more of a weapon at the top as far as speed is concerned. But here's my concern about Mason Wynn. He's not a big guy, okay? And he's going to play more baseball than he's ever played in his life. I got to keep this guy fresh. I got to keep him strong. And one of the things he and I talked about just maybe 2 weeks ago is the fact of keeping weight on. He came into camp a little heavier, but he's already started to lose weight, and he's getting his rest at night. He's trying to do everything. But, you don't want this guy hitting the wall by June. You have to figure a way to make him effective. So, moving him up in the lineup, yeah, perhaps. I think the other issue is here with him. Once teams get a book on him now that the adjustment he's made, and he made a real small adjustment. They had him he had a wider stance, and the wider stance guys are looking to have more power. He went back to his AA stance where his feet were closer together, and he stays back on the ball a little bit more, which is the reason why you can see him go to right field a little bit more. And that's something he's more comfortable with, and I think that's the reason why he's having the success.
You mentioned he's losing weight. I remember the story with Albert was always how much weight he'd put on during the season. What do you see more of with major league players?
I think that's a case by case situation. I think it depends on the position. I think it depends on what other skill sets you have. I mean, if you're running the bases a lot and you're doing a lot of things that require a little bit more physical exertion, and you know what, maybe you can't keep it on. If you're playing first base and just DHing, yeah, it's easy to put it on. Unless you're doing other things. But I think it's really more of a case to case situation compared to just stereotyping a player or a position.
Game 2 of the series tonight. The Arizona Diamondbacks in town this week before the Cardinals hit the road once again. And Claibs, I just want to also mention, because this isn't something that you and I have talked about in a while. We're about a month away from you being honored at the Missouri Broadcasters Hall of Fame. Those inductions coming up at the end of May. Just want to once again congratulate you on that, knowing that date is fast approaching.
It's getting here quicker than I thought, and thank you for what your kind words mean. Yeah, I'm honored. I'm excited about it. We did an interview the other day for the Hall of Fame, and I'm looking forward to it because when you look at some of the names that are in there, you realize you're in real tall cotton. And I've had a pretty diverse career in the industry where somebody asked me, "What sport haven't you done?" And I had to think about it for a minute. Even women's team handball that Bob Ramsey and water polo. I mean, we've done everything. But I think that's the one fun thing about this job, having the opportunity to do a lot of different things. I think if I was stuck in doing one thing, I probably wouldn't be here. I'd probably do something else.
You figure out that sport that you haven't called yet, and we will make something happen at some point, and we'll come up with whoever does it. We'll figure out a way to stream it on Claibs Online, and we will make that happen.
I don't think there is one, to be honest with you.
Have you done golf?
Yeah, we did. This is the early days of All Sports Radio. We did a golf tournament on the radio at Forest Park. So we had people stationed at different holes. It was something, the late great Jay Randolph Jr. kind of organized the whole thing, and we did it. And I had a lot of fun with it. For a guy who was basically learning the game as I was going, but just paying attention to everything around it and just using common sense. So yeah, golf's off the list.
All right, we'll figure that out. We'll talk about that and see what we can make happen here over on Claibs Online. Otherwise, before we take a break here, just quickly baseball related, Claibs. I don't know how much you got to see from around the league yesterday, but something I've never seen this before. Hunter Wendelstedt yesterday afternoon in the Yankees athletic game ejected Aaron Boone 5 pitches into the game. Aaron Boone, he has to be the major league leader, current present day leader in ejections, I would think, in baseball right now. For the amount of times that he's been thrown out of games during his Yankee tenure, he got ejected from a game yesterday because a fan behind the dugout was chirping at Hunter Wendelstedt and got tossed because Hunter thought it was coming from the dugout and said, "I don't care," multiple times. I don't know if I've ever seen that before.
No, I haven't either. I've seen umpires that were looking to stick it to somebody, but to hear it in the manner that we did because the microphones were so close, I think baseball's got a concern here between Hunter Wendelstedt, Angel Hernandez, and there's a couple of other guys that have really kind of, raised their hand to be recognized as someone you really question. And then when you look at the other sports, this NBA, this playoffs is it's already making me wonder who's doing what. Okay. And the NHL, you can pick a night that league has issues. I don't know if the officiating is as good as the players these days. And for Wendelstedt and what he did yesterday, he should get time off. But, we never hear about the fines or punishments that the officials receive. Now, you blow this guy up in a press conference, guess what? You're getting fined $20,000 or whatever the case is. At some point, there's got to be accountability for officials for when they do what he did. Now, if you miss a call, I get that. Everybody's not going to be perfect every night. But in that situation, he was dead wrong for all the right reasons. And I think that we got to have some sort of public discipline for those individuals as well. And I don't know where it starts. I don't know if he's a crew chief or not, but something's got to be done.
He's been around long enough.
Yeah, well, he's a second generation umpire.
Yeah.
So, he's got some juice, and their union is pretty strong, thanks to Joe West. And, when you look at how this thing is unfolding, it's not a good look.
Yeah.
It's not a good look. And while Aaron Boone may have deserved some other games of being tossed, this one just says it's got the wrong message. It's got the wrong message. And we've seen it with Angel. We've seen it with a couple other guys who have just taken it upon themselves to be the sheriff, judge, and jury and executioner. He can't do it. Can't do it.
He is not the crew chief, by the way. Marvin Hudson is the crew chief on his staff, even though he has been an umpire since 1998. That's back when he made his major league debut for Hunter Wendelstedt. But yeah, even doubled down on it after the game. Hey, let's take a quick break. You mentioned NBA, NHL. They are kicking off their playoffs. They did this weekend. We'll talk about some of those matchups when we come back here on Lunch with Claibs and Joe, powered by Gray Bar, driven by Munganess St. Louis Acura.
Stay with me, dance with me, we gon' be young and free. It's better when you move. You'll see it's better when you dance with me. Don't be shy, come on, move your feet. 'Cause everything is better, 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 better when you dance with me.
Back here, lunch with Claibs and Joe here on claibsonline.com. If you're watching the feed, whether it be on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, you saw one of the upcoming Cardinal giveaways, one of the most popular Cardinal giveaways that they have each and every year, the Mother's Day item, the Mother's Day purse that they have for this year. But Claibs, I think you got the biggest, one of the most popular giveaways this past weekend. I saw you sporting the Fredbird hat.
It is really a cool thing. We had a lot of fun with it in our broadcast booth. We all wore it. I don't know if you have a picture of it we can put up, but we the broadcasters, Jim Jackson, we all wore it. And we did this one other time. We had our winter hat, and Mike Shannon was in that picture with Jim and John and myself. So we had a lot of fun with it, to the point where the grounds crew was wearing their hats as they dragged the infield between innings.
Nice.
So everybody had fun with it. It's different. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I believe I want to say I think my mom got one for Hudson, so I think it's on the way to our house. So I did see the picture. I did not bring it up, but I know you guys have a history of sporting those in the broadcast booth.
Yes, we proudly wear some of the gift items.
Hey, Claibs, we're also brought to you each and every week by our friends over at the Missouri Athletic Club.
Missouri Athletic Club. It's one of the places you might want to think about when it comes to activities for yourself or for your family. And it's not just the MAC. They have golf events available, golf courses available to you. But when it comes to the MAC, the venues for whether it's a wedding reception or meetings, they've got a full-fledged athletic center that includes swimming, weightlifting. They have classes. They have everything you'd like to do, including if you need a hotel room. You know, you have family or friends that are coming in. You don't want them staying at your house. You can set them up there, and it's going to be a very fair and competitive price. What I would suggest you do is just go online and check them out, because there's so many amenities to the Missouri Athletic Club. You'll say to yourself, man, I should have thought about this well before now. And you'll be amazed at who also might be members. That's another thing that you run across. So if you're thinking about something for yourself and certainly for your family, you might want to try and do, I would start with the Missouri Athletic Club and just see how many boxes they actually can check for you, your family, and certainly your friends.
Claibs, NBA playoffs kicked off on Saturday after the play-in games, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So far, we have 1, 2, 3 series that are already 2 games to none. Cavaliers up 2-0 on the Magic, Knicks up 2-0 on the Sixers, and the Nuggets up 2-0 on your Lakers. They have won 10 straight games against the Lakers in the postseason now.
Yeah, I think last night stung the most, though. 21-point lead in the second half, and they come back. I wouldn't say the officiating was very good. I think Scott Foster, who's been around I bet Scott Foster's been officiating for at least 35, maybe 40 years. I'll go 38, somewhere in between. He lost control of the game, and the 2 officials that were working with him had no clue on what a foul was. And that goes both ways. I just thought it was a poorly officiated game. But as bad as they were, the players on both teams are really good. Jokic was good. LeBron was good. Anthony Davis was okay most of the night. Then you had some other guys who stepped up. Jamal Murray with the big winner. It was a very well played, fun game to watch. The unfortunate thing is the officials missed a lot of calls. Now, having said that, you want to let the players play, but there comes a point where there's some things you just have to call. When a guy gets slugged right in the face and you don't call it, got a problem with that. There's some other plays that took place that they just looked the other way. They said they were marginal. Marginal. I tell you what, why don't you let me hit you in the head and see if you think that's marginal? I mean, there were so many things along that line. And in watching some of the other games, there were some other games that had some suspect calls or lack of. But overall, I really feel like you're going to see some teams that might get swept. And then you're going to see some teams say, we just need to get home and we'll see what we can do. There are going to be some very good games in this first round. And there's going to be a good team that's going to be at home. I think the West is just loaded when it comes to that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the West and you see that you have a team like the Suns that are the 6th seed out there, that tells you all you need to know about how deep that conference is. Which matchup is there one of the 8 in the first round that I guess you're expecting to go 7 games, that you're expecting to be down to the wire?
Dallas and the Clippers. I think that's one. I mean, because both of those teams have a lot of firepower. And if they can get Kawhi healthy, which is a roll of the dice, that's going to be a good, tough series. The Suns, their problem is they just haven't had a chance to play together enough. And now they're going to find out just who they are. So those are the 2 series in the West that I think are going to be intriguing. I don't know about the Knicks and Philly. I think Philly just a little short. Celtics are going to walk over Miami. And I don't really see a real competitive series over there. Indiana Pacers, they can be fun. Cleveland is just a step away from making themselves a legitimate contender. They have a lot of young talent. They're doing some things really well. The question is, will they be able to keep their star in this offseason? But overall, I think the playoffs are going to be very entertaining.
Yeah, Joel Embiid, there's not much more he can do for the Sixers right now, and they're down 2-0 for as little as he played towards the end of the year with those injuries coming back and playing as many minutes as he's had in these first 2 games. He is doing absolutely everything you'd expect one of the star players in the NBA to do. Just not. I mean, the Knicks for once have a much deeper, better team in the playoffs.
Yeah, they're better. They're really good defensively, and they make you pay. They make you earn your baskets. Embiid and the other guy whose name escapes me, they just don't have enough help. They don't have enough of a bench to come in and give them some instant offense. So that could be a tricky series. They got to keep Embiid on the floor, but I will give Thibodeau credit. He's put together a really good team. I mean, he can go 9 deep. And very few teams can do that and put 9 guys in and out on the floor that can actually make contributions. So the Knicks could be fun to watch, especially if they have a crack at the Celtics.
All the star players we mentioned earlier, or I guess late last week, the United States men's national basketball roster was announced for the 2024 Summer Olympics. And this roster is pretty stacked. You have LeBron, you have Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant leading it as kind of the elder statesman of the team. But then Anthony Edwards, Kawhi Leonard, Tyrese Halliburton, Jason Tatum, Joel Embiid, Drew Holiday, Bam Adebayo, Anthony Davis, and Devin Booker round out the rest of that roster for the team. I am shocked to see Kawhi Leonard on this list, given the amount of load management that they put him through during the regular season, that he would want to even travel over to Paris and be a part of that team.
Well, that's a good point you make. I think that his health obviously has a lot to do with it, but when he's right, he's as good as anybody out there. And there's a lot of good players that got left off that list too.
Name your starting 5 for that roster.
Boy, Embiid, Durant, Booker, Steph, and LeBron.
I think I go Halliburton out there just to be a point guard out on the court.
Well, you said starting,
Yeah.
I think that they're going to rotate guys. I don't think you'll see a guy getting overloaded with minutes. There are plenty of good players that are going to be able to step in and help that team.
Yeah. I haven't seen any of the other rosters throughout any of the other with any of the other countries, so I don't even know if there's a team out there that would be able to compete against them.
I mean, Spain will be good. France will be good. There'll be a couple other teams that'll make it interesting for the U.S. team.
Yeah, that starts.
Here's the thing: we might not do it today, but the Europeans have caught up to the U.S. and they are now better than us when it comes to development. You look at this year's draft; we may not see an American taken in the first 5 picks. Okay. We're going to see guys that are coming from across the pond who have been better coached. They have a better understanding of the fundamentals of the game, and they're going to have a real footprint in this league. And this is why the NBA will have one of the largest TV deals in the history of the world, because they can take their game into any market on the planet now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're big. I mean, we already knew about Europe. They went to the Far East. Now they're on the continent of Africa. They're finding players from every corner of the world. And that's something that the other sports have not been able to really get a firm grip on. I know baseball is trying to go further south into South America. The NFL is trying to find European players, and they've even gone to Australia from some cases. But The NBA has set the bar with regard to where they stand. Now, the NHL, they've gone to Europe and they've done a really good job over there as well. And they found themselves going to the Far East, getting players also. So the global sports, it's here to stay. There are just some leagues in this country that just haven't figured out how to really maximize it.
The NHL playoffs, you mentioned that they started up this week too, with first few games already being played. Did that just started? Did that start yesterday too, or they?
No, it started over the weekend.
That started over the weekend too, as you have you have all those about one game in for every series. Only one series so far, 2 games in. Who are you liking so far? What are you what are you following NHL wise? I have not picked up on the NHL yet, as to where I did last year at this time.
Well, the East has 3 teams: Florida, Rangers, Bruins. Whichever one of those teams can finish their first round opponent off quickly is going to be an odds-on favorite. I mean, all 3 of those teams have enough firepower. They're well coached. They've been there, done that. The West is just insane. I mean, Vegas gets in, at the last minute, and they go into Dallas last night and beat Dallas, in the first game of that series. Vancouver's going to make it interesting with Nashville. And then you have Colorado. Colorado hasn't been playing that well, but, here come the playoffs, and who knows what they can do. So there's some good teams. And don't forget the Edmonton Oilers. I mean, they played really well last night against the Kings. So I think the Western Conference, is going to be something you definitely want to pay attention to. Those late night games, if you can stay up for them, you won't be disappointed.
4 of the 16 teams are Canadian. Claibs. Is this the year?
Is this the year?
Is this the year?
Well, you know what? The last Canadian team to win was in the 90s.
I know.
The mid-90s. And you know what?
Was
that
it
team,
90? Was it
93?
That's what I wanted to say. I thought 93 because Rangers won in 94.
Yeah, it was 93, and that was the last team that featured all North Americans on their roster. And I like the teams that are in it. Toronto has been snake bitten for so many years, but you have to like Edmonton and what they're able to do. And so those are the 2 teams I think have the most oomph. Vancouver, I think, is a season away from really having a legitimate seat at the table. But overall, it's going to be a very spirited series. But I think Edmonton can get deep. I think they can go far. So we'll see.
Love the scores that you see in these playoff games. I know it was a trend last year too. If you're a betting type, that just keep hitting the over in these NHL playoff games, and you will. You'll do better than Jonte Porter.
But you know what? Here's what I would say to that. I think you can do that in the first round because it's fire wagon hockey. Then, with each round, things start to tighten up for 2 reasons. One, the better teams are going to be defensive minded, and 2, these teams are beating the crap out of each other. That each round is going to take some steam out of somebody. So the games will be a little bit slower paced. They'll be a little bit more defensive minded. You'll see some overtimes for sure, but this first round is just wide open.
See, and that's where I think the goals come even more because you get the goalies in there that you're not wanting to sub out, not wanting to rotate out. You want to stick with your guy. And I think late into it, I think even into the conference finals, I think you're seeing high scores. But just 13 goals scored in the Jets Avalanche game on Sunday, and then last night 11 goals scored, Oilers Kings. So keep pounding that over if you're into that sort of thing in the NHL playoffs. Claibs, let's take our last break here on Lunch with Claibs and Joe. We got the NFL draft coming up this weekend and some Mizzou news that came across earlier as well. And we will talk about that right here on Lunch with Claibs and Joe. Powered by Gray Bar, driven by Munganass St. Louis Acura.
Nobody wants a surprise in their jelly donut. That's because the middle is the most important part. At Gray Bar, we're at the middle of electrical and datacom jobs across the country, connecting installers, facility managers, and business owners with smart solutions for their most challenging projects, which means stocking and delivering crucial products on time and on budget, with no surprises, thanks to our nationwide logistics network. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Who's this?
Back here, lunch with Claibs and Joe, powered by Gray Bar, driven by Munganess St. Louis Acura. Also brought to you by our friends Claibs at the Painting and Decorating Foundation.
Painting and Decorating Foundation is booming these days because we're learning a lot of young people want to have a career that's not going to have them spend a lot of money on things that they don't have an interest in. Painting and Decorating Foundation has been around for a while. They mentor and train people in various professions that they can take this tool set they have and take it anywhere. And when you have a chance to sit down and figure out what you want to do next, you have to make sure you think about the Painting and Decorating Foundation that offers a variety of careers that you should maybe check out. There's a lot of people there who've gone through the program, don't necessarily have to have a college degree, but are making more money than most college graduates. And so that's something you ought to think about for your future, for your family. If college isn't for you, and it's not for everyone, you have to think about the Painting and Decorating Foundation. You can go online and check them out. They have classes that are going to be starting up. And once you get into the routine in the system, you'll be thankful that you didn't waste your money elsewhere, because the Painting and Decorating Foundation, once you learn about how it works, you'll be very happy.
Claibs, the NFL draft begins Thursday night, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, all 7 rounds. But the first round taking place on Thursday, we assume the number 1 overall pick is going to be Caleb Williams to the Bears. That we've kind of figured since they traded Justin Fields a few months ago. Claibs, we're sitting here right now. How many of these first picks, or I guess when is the first non-quarterback taken in the draft in your eyes?
Well, it should be Marvin Harrison in the 4th spot. I mean, they need a receiver out there, but teams, they get hooked on a guy, man, and all of a sudden they're willing to mortgage the farm these days in order to get a certain player. So I think this draft is going to probably come with more trades than any other draft we've seen in a while, for people who are trying to move up, and they're willing to mortgage their future as far as draft choices are concerned to get their hands on somebody they really think can help them sooner than later. There are some good quarterbacks. I think the kid from LSU,
James Daniels.
I like him a lot. We saw him up close when they played Missouri. I mean, he's got a big arm. He's a strong guy. I mean, he might be a little slight compared to some of the other guys, but I think, he's going to be a good player. Now, when you start trying to split hairs here between quarterbacks, none of us really know who's who, okay? Because we don't know what system is going to work. And remember, they're all going to bad teams. So my concern would be, who's your offensive line? Can they protect him? Do you have other weapons? And when you look at some of those teams, they don't have everything you're looking for. So I think you have to make sure you have the right people around that quarterback or that player, because that's where it's going to work. Because the best example is the Bears took Fields. They never supported him. They never got him any help. So now all of a sudden they say, we're going to try it again. We're going to go after Caleb Williams. Well, what have you done to be better than you were when you had Justin Fields?
And they got a bunch of wide receivers, and they have the 7th overall pick too.
Yeah.
On top of this, 9th overall pick. After that, you have got to get him an offensive lineman.
Absolutely. And so the route I would go is go get a pro that's already been playing, and then draft one as well. Because, these guys, the way they play the game today, and as mobile as they are, they're going to be moving around a lot more. So you better have some protection. If not, they're going to end up being shell-shocked, and they're not going to be of any value to anyone.
You mentioned Marvin Harrison, right now projected to go to the Arizona Cardinals. Every few years we get these can't miss wide receiver prospects in the draft. Where would you put him in that category? He's can't miss right now.
I would say probably odds on being a very successful player. To put a can't miss on a guy, again, got to have somebody to throw it to him. It's got to have some other support. The receiver position is counted on so much more now on one-on-one situations, and how can he beat a corner? Can he beat coverage? And he's a young man who has shown at college that he's pretty good at it. So that's a situation where is he generational? I don't know. His dad was a very, very good player, so maybe the bloodlines are going to work for him. But I think when you look at him, he probably is a more polished product than some of the other receivers behind him. And there are some other good ones behind him. So this isn't one of those receiver drafts. I mean, there are going to be some other good ones out there, and it's amazing how all we've talked about, not just you and me, but all you hear about are the offensive players that are going to be available in this year's draft because the game is going in a different direction. The game is about offense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still of the belief you're going to have somebody make some tackles and make some plays. And if you get a good athlete early in the draft, you better figure out how to use them the best way possible.
One name to watch locally: Darius Robinson, the Mizzou former Mizzou D lineman, potentially a first-round pick. We'll see if he gets his name called later on in that first round on Thursday. But other Mizzou news, effective coming up in a week from now, University of Mizzou has announced their new athletic director, as they've just come to a contract agreement with Laird Veach from the University of Memphis. Has been there since 2019, and he will be the next athletic director over at Mizzou. Any history that you have on this guy? Have you
you know
what
what?
have you heard?
He was at Mizzou for a brief period of time a few years ago in the administration role. If I'm not mistaken, he played Kansas State. He was a linebacker. So he's familiar with the territory. We wish him nothing but the best. In this era of athletic directors, it's three things: getting along with the trustees, raising money, and making sure you hire good coaches. If you can do those three things, you have a chance to survive for a long period of time.
Yeah. Came to an agreement with FedEx for a $25 million investment when he was at Memphis.
That's a no-brainer. FedEx is in their backyard.
Yeah, it is. And then also was able to help a $220 million renovation project at the Memphis football field here recently too. So two things that are that I'm sure many Mizzou fans will love to hear, even though the pictures that I've seen recently over at Faurot Field of what they're doing out there, that place is going to be unrecognizable in a few years for everything they're doing to it.
Yeah, and here's the deal: it probably should to maintain the same level of some of the other SEC facilities. So he doesn't have to worry about that. His main focus now is to make sure that they can continue to raise money for the NIL project and giving their coaches that an even chance of competing. The NIL is where it's at. And if you don't have people who can raise money and have a war chest, it's going to be hard to be in bowl games. It's going to be hard to make a tournament because, this is the Wild Wild West now where players can come and go as they choose. And I say this all the time. You better look for guys who won't have character and who want to be coached compared to who want to be paid.
Claibs, a 6:45 game for you tonight, Cardinals and Diamondbacks, before a 12:15 tomorrow, and then you guys head out to New York for the weekend. What do you have lined up for the week?
Well, that's a great question. We kind of were put behind the eight ball, so we're working on George Wallace, the comedian. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
I am familiar. I once had George Wallace. I was doing an interview with him. I can't remember if it was at 920 or 590. I am doing I think I was doing a show with Pat Imig on 920. We had him on the air. He was in a taxi. His taxi, something happened. It went the wrong way or was going to the wrong airport, and he started cussing at the guy and hung up on us mid-interview in there, and we were not able to get him back on the air.
Yeah, he was more than graceful with his time. We've been in touch since we crossed paths on Saturday. We're going to do a lot of baseball, man, a whole lot of baseball with the Cardinals, and teams starting to kind of take shape around the game. Of course, I'm still waiting on June 14th, but you can kind of get an idea who's good and who has a chance to be good and who has a chance to be really bad.
Did you get a chance on Saturday to meet AEW star Swerve Strickland?
I knew he was in the house. He and I did not have a chance to cross paths.
He Sunday at Chaffetz, he became the first African-American heavyweight champion for AEW in their 5-year run as a company.
Well, congratulations to him, and I hope everything works out for him, and maybe he can hold on to that belt for a little while.
Yeah, the interview that I did with him up on Claibs Online right now.
Go
to our YouTube page, and you could check that out with the new AEW World Champion. Well, Claibs, we will let you get going. Hopefully, the Cardinals put together a win streak tonight down at the ballpark. Who's on the mound tonight for the Cardinals?
I would say Is Steven Matz?
That's who my guess was too. I haven't started looking into it yet. It's Steven Matz against Tommy Henry.
Yeah, see, it was TBA with the Diamondbacks as of yesterday. So Tommy Henry might be an opener, although they went through their bullpen pretty good last night. So this could be an interesting game because their bullpen is throwing a lot of innings because they had some guys hurt. So if there was a time to jump on a team, this is it for the Cardinals to be able to go after Arizona. You know, the only way you worry about a streak, you can only worry about the game you're about to play. You can't worry about tomorrow. You can't worry about Friday. You just have to go out and do your job. And let's see if they can start something special tonight.
It says here he has started 4 games already this year, 18 innings pitched. So I guess they're going to let him go a few. A young left-handed
don't have
pitcher.
a choice.
So yeah, we'll see what lineup Ollie goes with tonight. But with a lefty on the mound, I imagine, and 3 catchers on the team now, I would think you're getting Contreras and Herrera in the same lineup again this evening, right?
Yeah, who do you put in the outfield?
Ciani, I mean, maybe this is Jordan Walker's game to come back with a lefty on the mound today.
I would think that.
Yeah, Jordan Montgomery is starting tomorrow too for the Diamondbacks.
That ought to be fun.
Well, Claibs, we will let you get going. If you missed any of the show today, you could find it later this afternoon up where you find your podcast, wherever that might be. Until then, he is Mike Claiborne. I'm Joe Roderick. This has been Lunch with Claibs and Joe here on ClaibsOnline.com.
Hi, everybody. I'm Peter Munganast with Munganast St. Louis Acura, here to talk to you today about some benefits of Acura's certified pre-owned program. After passing a 182-point multi-point inspection, Acura backs all of our certified pre-owned cars with a 6-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty and a 7-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Munganast St. Louis Acura has new inventory arriving daily. Come on into Munganast St. Louis Acura today, meet our award-winning team, and find that perfect certified pre-owned Acura for you.